Hello all, welcome to the Lunar Sea Spire Cartoon Fan Podcast. This is episode 317, and today we'll be talking about The Truth Stinks from Mao Mao, Heroes of Pure Heart. I'm GC13.
And I'm David.
So, they did not lie. Badgerclops is very bad at taking personal criticism.
I think Mao Mao and Badgerclops just take turns at who's going to be the least self-aware and sensible. You know, they totally switch roles. Sometimes Mao Mao just goes off the deep end and Badgerclops looks like the sane one, but, you know.
Badgerclops has his moments.
Badgerclops can stoop low, and here Badgerclops has become dedicated to not taking a shower and believes that his crystals will save him from ever having to take one again. But of course, that is not the case. This was, a fun one, which is, my brilliant commentary on every Mao Mao episode. But I do like, the stink cloud that follows the good old B-Clops the whole way.
It's a bit much, don't you think?
It's, I actually was thinking about the stink cloud effect the whole time because it's an interesting animation thing to have to do. Like, are we going to hand draw custom this random effect the whole time? And I'm pretty sure the route that Mao Mao went was using some form of particle effect CGI thing. I don't know, like, it's kind of hard to do an effect this complex the whole episode. Like, I'm thinking, there's like that one stinky, dirty kid in Charlie Brown, but they just kind of draw lines over him. I don't know how you achieve, this effect the whole time.
Yeah, Pigpen.
No, just the stinky, dirty kid. Let's not give him a name.
He's the Badgerclops of the group.
It was definitely gross looking, though, and an advantage of the CGI is it also sort of looked a little distorty. So anyway, it really lets you smell it with your eyes. But the opening joke for this was fantastic. Because poor Kevin did not know that picking flowers in a field is a crime in the Pure Heart Valley.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't the only one picking flowers there. Mao Mao, I think, just has it out for Kevin.
The poor guy.
He's like that good kid in class. Anytime he does the tiniest thing, the teacher jumps on him because it's so weird to see him act up.
Isn't Kevin like 30-something years old, or is he one of the kids in Adorabat's classroom? I think he's one of the children. You never know with these.
He's a precious little boy.
Man, it's so delightful to hear Kevin try to explain himself. It's just the best role for him to have to be like, no, I swear, sir, he's just tripping over himself to, explain.
I just want there to be an episode where they pull a Kaiser Sose for Kevin.
Which is where he would.
He gives himself an alibi, and then Mao Mao lets him go, only to realize that all the details from the story were picked out of, objects in the room.
I would love for Kevin to secretly have that level of, he's just playing dumb. But no, this is juxtaposed with the fact that Badgerclops, we find out, devastated an entire town that we, at least colloquially had its name changed. Just because of a bad haircut. Yeah. And, that's a pretty intense flashback for Badgerclops. Like, did he actually kill the women and children, too? That was pretty scary looking.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, he might have fully Anakin'd them, but I think the timing on that is interesting, because it looks like he has both of his eyes, which means that would predate the Thicket Thieves, but he wasn't that bad a person back when he was with the Thicket Thieves, so I don't know. Like, the whole timeline for the Just Okay planes is a mystery right now. I think we're gonna need to get some deep Just Okay planes lore in upcoming episodes to really make sense of this.
Now, ranking our good guys that used to be criminals Cartoon Network group, did Jake the dog ever kill a man? I feel like right now this is putting Badgerclops at the top of the tier list of criminals turned good guys on Cartoon Network.
Technically we don't know the Badgerclops ever killed any of the denizens of the plains. He might have just devastated the place.
There's a lot of fire in that flashback. That's all I'm saying. It's hard for some people to not catch on fire when they're covered in fur. That's all I'm throwing out there.
But is that really his fault if they can't get away from the fire?
Starting a forest fire, it's the forest's being on fire fault.
Yeah, like it's not my fault, it's the fire. badgers don't kill people, fires kill people. I think that's I think that's what that saying means. I love that little story about Badgerclops. And the funny thing is, at least for me, when I watch the episode, the first thing I think is, oh, Mao Mao's overreacting and everything's going to get better once they finally tell Badgerclops. Then we realize that no, Mao Mao was completely right to keep this from Badgerclops.
Oh, absolutely. This is the total character of the show Mao Mao, not Mao Mao himself, where it's just so wonderfully... It's not... I mean, I guess it's subverting, your expectations, but it's such a fun subversion. Just in any other show, it'd be like, well, the lesson here is that Mao Mao should just be honest with Badgerclops, and they even play that route, right? Like, when Adorabat explodes, finally, at the end of the episode, at first Badgerclops just reacts like you think was supposed to be the conclusion. Okay, no big deal. But then he blows up. And it's, confirms everything bad that Mao Mao said.
I like when she had the bucket full of bath bombs with the dynamite in it. And she's like, it has to be done!
The thing is, so Mao Mao stops Adorabat, even though they were trying to, freshen up.
Yeah, like, that doesn't make any sense. They were trying to ambush him.
That dynamite would have actually hurt him, I guess, was the point of that. Like, it wasn't just a fun bath bomb.
He could have just taken the dynamite out.
I mean, it was like a literal bomb, though. I know, they could have just lit the fuses of all the bath bombs. I don't know why. Mao Mao was like, you know what, clearly we failed enough. And we know Mao Mao, is ready to give up whenever he does fail. So let's just go across, go completely across.
Let's just run away from our problems.
Exactly.
But Badgerclops is having none of that.
Oh, no.
He knew they were jealous of his crystals.
Well, they couldn't even use proper etiquette over the walkie-talkies, so...
Over.
That was already painful enough. Over. That would really help these podcast conversations flow more.
Good thing we're not on a walkie-talkie. That would be really annoying. But I mean, what are the odds that they would be attacked by a large-nosed monster? Like, somebody won the lottery that day, I'm just saying.
It's a very... I mean, that was a pretty straightforward monster choice, I guess, for this episode, and it helps the Badgerclops connect the lines. I love that Adorabat, after telling off Badgerclops, is also fine with telling off other people, especially knowing that, she says to Mao Mao, she's not my friend.
Nobody likes your cookies.
You only told me that I had to protect the feelings of my friends. So I just like that, Adorabat says, facts don't care about the feelings of your non-friends. That's, that's great.
Adorabat is a wonderfully awful child.
It's also, I don't know how much... So, I don't know with Mao Mao sometimes, do they do a little bad as far as like giving a characterization that maybe only exists for this episode and doesn't exist for others? And I kind of need to pay attention to how much, Badgerclop just really displays just classic, narcissism and just general blindness to his condition, but especially when he's even blaming the monster, saying, you must be jealous of my crystals, saying, you must be jealous of me. That's just like a classic narcissistic reaction to someone calling you onto something.
But he does figure out that, hey, that doesn't make much sense.
Right, so I mean, the fact that he overcomes it, does that mean that this type of behavior shouldn't come back in other episodes? I don't know if it follows that more like cartoon trend of, okay, I've had this realization and I'm not going to keep acting this way. Because, I mean, yeah, Badgerclops has low moments, but I don't know if any of the moments are quite like this again, where he's making a claim about himself like this. I don't know. It's something to watch out for in future episodes, and we can try to link this behavior together.
I mean, just compare this Badgerclops to the Badgerclops from Ultraclops, where he's like, come on, dude, nobody ever wants to, just talk things out. Like you said, the characterization can be all over the place for the sake of humor.
Right, like I said at the beginning, it just feels like sometimes Mao Mao and Badgerclops swap on if they're going to be self-aware and sensible. So, it's fine. It's entertaining, but it's not necessarily consistent.
I mean, the Ruby Pureheart is on the fritz.
I am totally fine with them backwards explaining it that way at any point. I'm okay with that.
Badgerclops has been feeling warm and not in a good way, so yeah, they can easily retcon all personality inconsistencies as being the Ruby Pureheart's fault.
That would actually be a wild thing if they really committed to that sort of. Well, I don't want to give spoilers for even the Fairly Odd Parents, but there was a really shocking revelation in a very late episode of that show that recontextualized the entire show, except in the Fairly Odd Parents, that doesn't mean much because there's not really much continuity that's meaningful.
I can't remember. How many times did they meet Santa for the first time in Fairly Odd Parents?
Well, yeah, there's a lot. Like, yeah, the rules were kind of consistent sometimes, but I mean, there was not an overall thing. But anyway, okay, if you're ready for, spoilers, anyone out there still worried about, spoilers for the Fairly Odd Parents, there's an episode where it's revealed that Timmy wished the whole town never aged, and it's been something like decades where everyone's remained the same age and everything, and that's like actually horrifying the more you think about it, and it's horrifying in the episode.
That's actually hilarious.
And so, but that's great because it actually explains a cartoon thing, and it also really makes sense for Timmy's character, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it was a very well executed episode. It's also been forever since I ever even watched that. Also, I'm pretty sure I watched that only after hearing about it, because I definitely wasn't actively following the Fairly Odd Parents at that point, but I was like, that's a shocking episode premise.
I'm pretty sure tons of people fell off after Sparky.
Someday we could just talk about all the nightmare things that Butch Hartman tried to do, or that Nickelodeon, encouraged them to do to try to revive that series over and over. But, if Mao Mao also recontextualizes everything with something like, hey, all this erratic, crazy behavior is because of that giant crack in that giant gem. Be interesting.
I would approve of it. Like, it would be pretty funny. It just has to be, like, as an aside from Camille. Maybe Honey can whisper in her ear, and she'd be like, oh, yes, that would explain why everyone's personalities keep going weird every other day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would approve of that message. I like Badgerclops saying, I should have used your criticism while he's using his stink as a weapon. Very, very nice choice.
Yeah, well, it's also great because he only meant it that way. Because then he says, guys, I realized that I should have just accepted
just be honest
the truth about myself. Yeah, I should just have said that I don't enjoy taking showers. But you know what, Badgerclops, that doesn't matter. You're gonna bathe anyway. There's some opinions and truths about yourself you don't get to have.
Yeah, these guys were willing to forcibly bathe you. Oh, I just realized. Mao Mao is a hero. He lives by the hero's code. It's probably against the hero's code to attack a sleeping foe. That's why he couldn't let Adorabat clean Badgerclops while he was asleep.
Wow. Mao Mao does stick to the rules sometimes, but I guess he didn't break it in any other way this episode.
Okay, so that's gonna be my headcanon for why he stopped Adorabat. Not the dynamite.
Not the dynamite, the fact that he was asleep.
But because Badgerclops couldn't defend himself.
Although he was very well distracted by the beignets. Fantastic song, by the way. The beignet song, I actually totally missed the first time I saw this episode. It was only watching it this time that I realized that the lyrics, that there were lyrics, and that it was, some dude saying beignet. And it was fantastic, but why didn't I hear that the first time?
I don't know. The first few times I watched the episode, my brain interpreted it as an instrumental and I moved on with my life. But yeah, this time I was very, very conscious of the beignet.
So that's weird that it had the same effect. I don't know. I guess you're just like watching the way that Badgerclops moves. He's swaying his hips. He's just got this great dance going on. It reminds me of, there's like the Jimmy Neutron dance. That's like a great famous GIF, or even, it's got a little bit of those Peter Parker dancing vibes.
Yes.
It's on. There should be GIFs of this. When I search dance on my, GIF keyboard, GIF keyboard, for those who immediately hate me for saying GIF, it's graphical. I get it.
GIF for the Philistines.
This should show up. More Mao Mao. More Mao Mao GIFs.
Whenever I watch an episode with my analytical hat on, I do tend to notice little things like that have eluded me in the past, and that's what I got this time, the lyrics of the beignet song.
Yeah, what is it? We need to get some our musical analysis hats on to really deeply understand what effect this is having in our brains and why we experience the same thing. Also, though, beignets are distracting. I want a beignet, like a little powdered sugar on a little, like that's so good.
I don't know. After watching Badgerclops with his first beignet, I think I'm kind of beignet'd out. That kind of made it weird real quick.
That was deeply. I mean, I'm just saying that was deeply sexual. There was not. That was so raw in what they in what they were willing to put on TV there.
I mean, I knew Badgerclops loved food, but
I should have looked up the word for sexual attraction to food ahead of time. It would have been a helpful term.
Yeah. So, Badgerclops has problems. So, Mao Mao has Tanya Keys, and Badgerclops has beignets, I guess. Anyway, guys, that's been us on The Truth Stinks. Join us next week. Until then, I'm GC13.
And I'm David. Don't forget to leave us a review anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Later, everybody. Our opening and closing music is by Mark Soto. For more cartoon-related content, please visit lunarseaspire.com.